Hey everyone. I've been super blessed recently with some really cool and awesome reviews of my books, and so I thought it would be kind of neat to pay it forward. I think a lot of times we get book reviews and stuff from large publishers and publications and news, these big newspapers and stuff, and I think sometimes it's kind of nice just to hear a book review from an everyday reader, an indie author like myself. And sometimes we don't sometimes we don't know that books are out there. I mean, it's just kind of like anything. um you know we know what books are out there because that's what's being advertised or whatever. And there are so many awesome, amazing books out there that you may never have heard of. And so there's a couple things that I wanted to do with these reviews, and my goal is to do two a week, one Tuesday, one Thursday. So before we get going, do me a favor, make sure you click the subscribe button, the red button, and then click the bell notifications so that you get notifications when I upload stuff. I'm doing my very best to be a little more consistent with this. Um, I've got two goals. One is to just give an honest, positive review. So just so you know, I'm not planning on doing any negative reviews. Okay, there's enough negativity out there, especially today, and I just don't see any point in knocking another author. And I know as an author that what I write is not going to be for everyone. Not everyone's going to enjoy what I write. It's not that it's written poorly. It's not that anything is bad about the writing itself. People just don't enjoy the story, and that's okay. There's no point in me or really anyone else putting out reviews out there that are negative, in my opinion, unless it's just super poorly written. And in that case, I don't really feel like it's a good use of my time to give a review on that. So the second thing that I would like to do through this is give publicity to especially other indie authors who you may never have heard of before, and who knows, their book may be one of your favorite. I've not trying to toot my own horn. I've heard that from a couple people, and it's just because of word of mouth. I mean, I'm not being advertised through New York Times or any bestseller lists or anything like that. So maybe hopefully this way some people get some publicity. So for my first book or book series that I would like to review for you, it would be the Fatemark series by David Estes. And I'm going to show you what his books look like on Amazon. Fatemarked is the first book. Now I've read all the way through Deathmarked, so I'm really excited to read the last book in his series. But here's Dave on Amazon, and the Fatemark series, great series. I just happened to. It was actually a series that was kind of earmarked along with my series, and so I went ahead and bought it. I know because because of my drive time back and forth between work, I saw that there was an Audible version, which right here you can see Derek Perkins, great narration. Really enjoyed his voice. So I actually listened to most of it rather than read it. Now, David Estes has, and if you look at this page, you can see all of his different books. He's got some post-apocalyptic books out there, some men's adventure. I haven't read any of that, but if it's anything like his fantasy series, which would probably fall under epic fantasy, young adult. I know it's billed as young adult fantasy, military fantasy, action adventure fantasy, coming of age fantasy, all good stuff, right? So I think his other books are probably pretty good as well. Maybe one of the things you noticed on Amazon, he's got about a 4.1 to a 4.2 star rating on his first book, and his whole series is about the same. I would give his books, if I could, on Amazon, you can give, just whole ratings. I would give them like a 4.6 or 7. They're really good. 5-star being the greatest thing, right? So maybe a 4.5, somewhere around there. Just a great series. There's a couple elements that his Fatemark series displays that I really, really enjoyed. And, some of those were believable protagonists. He's got, 4 or 5 different protagonists. They have very, very human qualities. They're each part of his world is divided. His world is divided up into 4 kind of separate kingdoms. I think he does a great job with the geopolitical setup in his world. It seems very realistic. I felt like in a good way. So I don't mean to get off on a tangent here, but obviously a lot of authors are influenced by other authors. I felt like I felt some influence from Lord of the Rings, Tolkien. I felt a lot of influence from George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire in a good way. One of the things that Dave Estes does really well is kind of create a juxtaposition between these different political countries, these political units, and how one is organized is very different from another, which also lends to the way that they treat these fate marked or marked people. And basically, the story centers around individuals who have been born with a tattoo that gives them specific powers. And in some parts of the world, they're revered. In other parts of the world, they're feared. In other parts of the world, they're being hunted as outcasts, kind of a pariah. And so he does a great job of setting up the political systems. The characters are very believable, and they deal with some very real world problems. All the protagonists, and probably one of the reasons why it does fit within that young adult mold, is because all of the protagonists are generally younger people. They seem like they're in their mid to late teens or early 20s. And they deal with real issues. I think one of the things that modern day, or I shouldn't say modern day, but fantasy might miss is, just kind of this over the top, these aren't real issues, right? I mean, they're just dealing with otherworldly stuff that just seems so beyond us. And, his characters are dealing with things like relationships, trying to figure out what the difference between right and wrong is, which I think is so applicable today. Dealing with sexuality and sexual orientation, and dealing with it in I think a very good, constructive way. I love the way that Dave writes, and there's nothing in there that I would say would be inappropriate for, say, a high school audience. A couple of his characters are dealing with, hey, I'm liking this person more than just a friend, and they're a guy, I'm a guy, or things like that I think he does really, really well. I mean, it seems natural. It seems very real world. So, the pacing of the books is very good. He does a great job of switching between a point of view. Each section of the book actually sets up what point of views you're going to experience in that section, which may be something I can actually take some influence from. I think that's a great. That's a great idea. And each chapter, again, kind of Martin-esque type chapter titles, deal with who the protagonist is going to be, and what POV we're going to see it from. Again, great stuff. I don't really have anything critical to say. It doesn't read like an indie book. Unfortunately, I'm maybe speaking from experience. Some indie authors, great stories, but maybe the editing is a little or stuff like that. read like a traditionally published book. In fact, I was super surprised to find out that Dave was a self-published author. And he's doing very, very well. And he's also, let me just say this, a great guy. For those of you out there that are aspiring writers, there's some guys out there, Dave being one of them, who has just been so generous with his time in terms of how does he market, what does his writing process look like? Just a great dude. Brent Weeks has been really cool. Craig Halloran has been awesome. Brandon Sanderson has actually gotten back to me. So there are some really, really quality fantasy authors out there that if you're an aspiring writer, they will give you their time, and probably because they know what it's like. They remember what it's like to start off. So my very first review and recommendation would be the Fatemark series by David Estes. I'm going to put this up on Amazon or up on the screen one more time so you can see it. Fatemark series by David Estes. It's a 5-book series. Although I did hear directly from Dave that he is working on a follow-up series, which is super, super awesome and exciting. Again, David Estes also has some other books, dystopian, post-apocalyptic, sci-fi, men's adventure, urban fantasy type stuff as well. Okay, and like I said, I haven't read that stuff, but probably very well written because I know that his Fatemark series is very well written. So if you're looking for something that's that feels epic, feels young adult fantasy, but kind of a new twist, a new story, I would highly recommend the Fatemark series. Highly recommend Dave Estes. Again, I don't really have anything critical to say. I don't think that there's anything he could do differently. Outside of the norm, right? I mean, sometimes you don't like what happened to that character, or you don't like how that character responded to a situation, and that's a part of the reading experience. So, anyways, like I said, Dave Estes, great author, Fatemarked series, great series. I will put the link to his Amazon, his books on Amazon in the description below. And I would highly encourage you guys to check it out. And be on the lookout. My goal is every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to post some book reviews and my thoughts on stuff that I've been reading or have read. Some of them will be indie authors. Some of them will be big name books. The next one I plan on doing is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin, assuming this guy ever finishes the series. So again, one more time, David Estes, Fatemark series, description or link to his Amazon page in the description below. Thank you, everyone. Happy reading, and we will see you next time.